Hola, bienvenidos a otra Satchel Class. Soy Mr. Castrillon and I would like to welcome you to another Satchel Class. Today we're going to be talking about AR verbs. We have some sessions already on the system and on the website for you to actually check these very interesting verbs. Remember that we have three families in Spanish, families of verbs, if you like, and they are essential when we want to actually speak in Spanish. So today we're going to talk about AR verbs. And although this is a lesson for Key Stage 3, we are more than happy to welcome any Key Stage 4 and 5, because at the end of the day, learning these verbs is absolutely important and essential. So what are we going to do today? Hoy vamos a aprender a conjugar verbos terminados en AR. Vamos a conjugar verbos regulares en pasado simple. Y vamos a practicar con oraciones y frases comunes. So, what is an AR verb? It's any verb ending in AR, of course, and we can find two types of verbs, regular and irregular. But we will be learning regular verbs mainly today. ¿Cómo se dice en español? To dance, to sing, to buy, to search, to teach, to listen to study. So we have all these verbs here. So what I would like you to do is I want you to write down the translation for these verbs. I'm just going to give you 1 minute to do that. Search the verbs in the dictionary if you don't know them. 1 minute. Off you go. Unpack. How did it go? To dance, to sing, to buy, to search, to teach, to listen to study in Spanish. ¿Cómo se dice en español? Well, let's check the answers to that. Bailar. Feel free to repeat after me. Bailar. Be careful with that combination here, AI. Bailar. If you struggle with those sounds, my suggestion is make it slow, bailar, and try to make it loud, like uh, out loud when you speak out loud. Pronounce it out loud. Bailar. Buscar. Buscar. Cantar. Cantar. Comprar. Comprar. Enseñar. Enseñar. Escuchar. Escuchar. Estudiar. Estudiar. Now then, I have all those verbs here, but I have taken away all the vowels other than the AR. So what I would like you to do in the next 2 minutes is to fill in those gaps with the right vowels. 2 minutes to do so. Off you go. How did that go? So let's check those answers. Here we go. Buscar, bailar, estudiar, cantar, comprar, enseñar, escuchar. Very important verbs to memorize. So, what happens when we actually want to conjugate these verbs in Spanish in simple past? I'm going to use a modal verb. In other words, this is a verb that we can use to, as an example, to conjugate, and every single other verb that I've kind of spoken about or that I have shown you is going to use the same conjugations. Now, hablar has a root, in other words, a part of the verb that won't change, and it's that white section there. This habl, Habl, that part is not going to change. We call it in Spanish raíz, and it won't change. Now, the yellow section, however, will change. How? Well, let's have a look at the first one. I have yo. Yo means I. And if I want to say I spoke, all I need to do is add or change AR for E with that little symbol on top. That symbol is called tilde in Spanish. And it's basically for you to make the main stress when you pronounce the word. So instead of saying hable, you say hablé. Now, when I say stress, it doesn't mean that you have to make it louder. It simply means that you have to make the sound a bit longer. So instead of saying hable, you say hablé. And if you allow that sound to extend, you're going to be able to pronounce that word really well. But remember, it's just a little bit of practice and you'll be doing it really well. So in the second case, we have tú hablaste. Ella habló. Nosotros hablamos. Vosotros hablasteis. And finally, ellos, ellas hablaron. These words here on my left, yo, tú, él, ella, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, are called pronouns, and we use them quite often. However, sometimes, and particularly when we're talking about ourselves, we tend to leave out these words, and we only use the ending as a guide for us to know who we are talking about. So instead of saying yo hablé, we tend to say hablé without mentioning yo. And it's basically because the ending is giving me an idea of who we are talking about. Now, there are many words that will, or verbs that will follow this conjugation. And here we have a list of them. Bailar, buscar, cantar, comprar, enseñar, escuchar, estudiar, hablar, necesitar, pagar, practicar, regresar, tocar, tomar, trabajar. All of these verbs other than tocar. Tocar will have a different change, but it's not a massive one. All of them require the same ending. In other words, if I want to say, for instance, I danced, I would say bailé. If I want to say I sang, I would say canté. If I want to say I taught, yo enseñé. But what about other pronouns or persons, so to speak? Let's say I want to say we taught, so nosotros enseñamos, or we listen to, nosotros escuchamos. So as you can see, we play with these endings. It's like playing Lego, if you like, and it's really good to practice with these sort of ideas of mixing words together and putting bits together to get an idea of what we are saying. So let's translate some sentences. Here I have one, two, three, four, five, six sentences. These sentences are all about the verb hablar. However, we want them in simple past. So, how will you say I spoke, or you spoke, or my brother spoke, or we spoke, or who are you talking to, or who do you talk to yesterday? And finally, my friend spoke. So, we want to use these endings that we have just seen. Now, feel free to go only with the basic level, which is basically filling in the gaps. If you go intermediate, then you will be using yo and this one. And of course, you're going to have to fill in with the right ending. But feel free to go advanced, which is the three colors, yellow, blue, and green. And of course, you have to translate and also and also you have to fill in and conjugate. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes to choose as many sentences as you want and see where you can actually make a very good exercise with this. 3 minutes, off you go. One more minute left. How did that go? I hope you've managed to make as many sentences as possible. I'm going to write here the conjugation for each one of these really important sentences. Just bear with me a second. I'm fixing something here in my screen. Perfect. Good. So let's do this. So the first one, hable, and it needs to be with that um, um, tilde. Hablaste. There we go. Hablo. That's my brother spoke. Hablo. Hablamos. There we go. Habláis. Hablasteis, sorry. Hablasteis. And hablar. Here we go. Perfect. So those are the endings that we need for our sentences. So what do they say? What do they mean? Well, yo hablé con mis padres ayer. I spoke with my parents yesterday. Tú hablaste de mi familia. You spoke about my family. Mi hermano habló por teléfono. My brother spoke on the phone. Nosotros hablamos todos los días. We spoke every day. ¿Con quién hablasteis vosotros ayer? Who did you speak yesterday? Or who did you talk to yesterday? Mis amigos hablaron muchos ritmos. My friends spoke many rhythms. Now, something important here is that all of these endings are the same for all the other verbs that we learned earlier. Let's continue. Let me clear my screen here and we'll move on. Now, what I would like you to do is I want you to choose the right conjugation from the red box. So I have all those verbs there: enseñamos, miraste, estudiaste, and so on. And I have some sentences in the yellow box that do require one of those words. So what I would like you to do is I want you to write down the sentence and then complete or fill in with the right conjugation for that sentence. I'm giving you a hint. So I need study it. It means that you need to choose one of the verbs that means to study in past. Okay, I'm gonna give you 2 minutes for that. Off you go. Well, let's have a look at those sentences. The first one, estudié. The second one, enseñó. The third one, hablamos. The fourth one, miraste. The fifth one, bailaron. Now then, if you manage to copy the sentences on, well, my suggestion is during your spare time, translate them. But if you didn't manage to write these sentences, or maybe you missed something from the lesson, feel free to come back and watch the video. Remember that it's always available on the website, so that would be great for you to revise these sentences and, of course, the whole lesson, the full lesson. Now let's have a look at this here. This is our last exercise of the day. I'm gonna read it out for you. Ayer hablé con mi mejor amiga y la pasé muy bien. Hablo de muchas cosas con ella, sobre todo de nuestros programas de televisión favoritos. Mi mejor amiga se llama Hailey y ella es muy inteligente. La semana pasada visitamos el museo con nuestro profesor de historia. Escuché con mucha atención y me gustó mucho nuestra excursión. ¿Y a ti? ¿Te gusta el museo? Well, what I would like you to do is I want you to have a look at the numbers in front of each one of those sentences. And can you spot the sentences in past or the sentences in present? Well, I'm going to give you 30 seconds to choose a couple of numbers and see where you can actually work out which sentences are in past, which ones are in present. And have a look at the verbs. And even better, can you understand the full sentence? Well, 30 seconds for that. Well, let's have a look and see which sentences are in past. 1, 4, and 5. As you can see, we have hablé, visitamos, and the clue is la semana pasada, means last week. Escuché. And in present, we have 2, 3, and 6. Well done. Muy bien. Today we revised verbs ending in AR. We learned how to conjugate AR verbs in simple past. We even translated sentences, and we finally identify sentences in past and in present. Very well done to you. Always remember that practice makes perfect. And come back to the video if you want to revise, or maybe you felt or you feel that you could actually make a lot more out of the video. In the meantime, I want to wish you the very best. Muchas gracias y hasta muy pronto.